I needed to do it twice because I love it. That was intentional. Yes, yes, yes. Listen, I am Coach She. Welcome to Life Forum tonight, and we are joined by all of them, most of them. Let me see. It's always the bishop that runs late. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. He probably is doing something in the house for us, which I can't be mad about, but he's always the last one pulling the rear. Come on. Yes, he holds the rear guard. I'm so grateful to all of you joining us tonight for this very special conversation around autism and neurodivergence. Listen, you still have time to share, like, get information out to other individuals. Let them know that they can join us here on this platform or all the other platforms that we are streaming from tonight. It's bound to be a dynamic conversation, so much so till individuals who, when we put out the call for individuals to participate, people started to just respond. So obviously this is a conversation that people want to have or get additional insight around. So I am excited to be able to do this tonight and to honor Autism Awareness Month. First of all, to all of you who experience autism in whatever way or form, we honor your experience, and we can't wait to have diverse conversations with other individuals who are having the experience as well. So before we get to that, I want to bring on the Dream Drama team. That's right. That is who they are. They look very, very nice in gray, but let's get some color around them, okay? Bree Jackson is up first. She is joining us. Well, see, Dream and Drama. Yes. And then Prophet is joining us out of
Texas.
Yes, that look like new spaces, but thank you for the confetti. We appreciate you. And B Jack is coming. Yes. Dreams and Dramas. Drama team.
We see the light.
We see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your hair is murder, Bernicia.
Ooh, murder. You want to use
Thank
you want to
you.
use that word on live exchange? Is that what we want to do?
And every bishop is late because they have to be the first one to be noticed.
And then he just said, I'm here.
And there we go. Right. See, he gonna be coming in at 10:20 every service.
I'm starting service at 10:22.
Hallelujah.
10:22.
Right. Brian Pittman used to start service at 7:21. He always had that off number.
Service starts at 7:17.
Just dumb.
7:17.
7:17. We'll be here.
Yeah, 7:17.
I'm like, why? But it probably worked though.
You know who else used to do that? Bishop.
Bishop
like,
Clapp.
No, Bishop. Babe, who's dang Bishop? He looked like he could be Brian's dad.
Oh, you know who we talk about, Bernicia? Bishop Holtz.
Bishop Holtz, yes.
Yes.
Bishop Holtz used to have services. We're gonna have service at 11:12, guys.
Oh, yeah, that is so true. It used to be there. How's everybody's day so far?
It's good. We're the Dream Drama team.
Dreams and dramas. And I don't even have to go far.
I literally just got off of work, like literally, like in the literal sense of literal. I just got off
You
of
went
work.
from one job to another. I so appreciate it.
I ran right in here. I was like, oh, it's 7:00.
Mhm.
Here comes my son. Here comes
Yes,
my son.
Aiden. Yes. Hello, Aiden.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
Aiden.
Aiden.
Aiden is so special. I love him.
He came to bring me something, but he's like, Mom, why you all in the camera?
Yeah, it'd be the
Bye,
kids.
Aiden.
It'd be the kids.
All right, we'll go in the room and watch TV.
How's everybody else doing?
I'm doing good. Y'all see my watchdog?
Oh,
Y'all
The
see him?
watchdog behind you. That's a watch. That's not a teddy bear.
No, she's a dog. Her name is Bella. Please don't disrespect my house pet.
House pet.
Okay, well, I'm just going to like and share and tag other individuals. Tell us about Bella.
So I've been begging my bestest friend for a dog. So for Valentine's Day, she got me Bella, and she said that I needed her for emotional support, but it's one that doesn't use the bathroom, and I don't have to walk her.
Well, there's that.
So
Praise him.
that, yeah, that worked out for everyone.
And they don't have weird smells.
She just sit there and she's so sweet. Look at
No
her.
vet calls.
Okay.
Yeah. Adam, look at her.
Listen.
What is
Why are we
happening?
starting this today?
I'm trying. Look. I am really struggling because I know Stephanie wants a dog, and as much as I love Steph, I could give two damns about having a pet in my house. But lately I've been looking at two dogs, and they're very big dogs. The one is a Connie Corso, and the other one is a Rhodesian Ridgeback. So I'm looking. If
You want another child,
right? No. What I'm saying is, if Stephanie's going to have a dog, and she's going to be out with somebody or out walking, right? And some stranger walks up and approaches her, and you got some little dog that you can step on. Stephanie and the dog are gone.
Just get her something she could put in her bag.
No, that's what she said, because she thinks like a thief. Sorry.
She's supposed to.
Because she's not thinking of protective measures. I'm thinking
She
from
wants
the
an
standpoint.
accessory.
No, you don't understand, Bree. If some stranger approaches my wife, I want my dog to kill them.
Oh my God.
Oh, like
Somebody came
straight up
here
kill.
with violence to
Right.
I want homicide. I want yellow caution tape and police around trying to figure out why this dog done snatched the whole throat of this person who walked up weird on my wife.
Yeah.
Just don't nobody say nothing to his wife. Just say good morning, keep it moving.
Right. We think differently. We think of protective measures. I'll give you a perfect example right now. Is it fair to say, Bishop, that there's that you have access to something to protect your home, like maybe the peace of God, or something of that nature?
I've got something, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's what I mean. We have protective measures. And this brought up an interesting thought, even though we're not going to talk about it tonight. But someone got upset with me about what I said, and I said, am I allowed to be okay with what you do even if I don't accept it? Anywho, come on, coach. We ain't going down a rabbit hole tonight.
Well, why would you start to dig the hole, though? I don't understand why
Number
you do
one, that again, y'all are so cruel. See, this is the dramatic side.
We're cruel.
Y'all blame me for what y'all started. For instance,
Adam, you are a digger.
Listen,
You are a digger.
I'm a prophet. I'm an excavator.
You are a digger. I'm a digger.
I'm an excavator. When we came on here, Coach said, why is Bishop always the last person? She started it, not me. And then you poked the bear wanting to talk about your unalived dog.
Don't do that. Bella is a praying vessel. Huh? She prays. She prays.
Pray on, Bella.
Yeah.
Pray on.
Well, listen, at least we know the
on,
dog
pray.
knows how to. We know the dog knows how to be still. That
She
dog
what?
knows how to be
She
still.
what?
She sets the living room's atmosphere.
Oh my gosh. Is you for serious belongs right here. Is you for serious belongs right here. So let the saints of God get to our
Kayla.
segment, and then let us talk about this topic. Hi, Kayla. Look, she is in the camera. Yes. Goes.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Let everything you're doing too much. That has breath. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Rashida, you doing too much. This is too much. This is too much what you're doing. So slow down. Get on the beat. Do what you're supposed to do. This is praise and worship.
Ain't no way she gonna put that on stage.
Yes,
And
I
then
am.
you ain't gonna talk
Yes, I
about it.
am.
Or is this what
Yes,
we
I
about to
am.
talk about?
I don't mind. I don't care that it's
Fighting on
live.
stage?
I don't care that it's live. I don't care that it's live. No, no, I don't care that this is live. No, no, I don't care that this is live. I don't care that this is live. No, no, because I didn't.
Oh,
What happened?
nothing. Okay, so Bree, what did you think of that video?
Before,
Oh, I didn't see the video.
You didn't see it
what
at
I'm
all?
saying.
Okay,
I
hold
don't.
on.
That's why I'm telling y'all. I don't know what y'all
Yeah,
talking about.
always.
All
I saw
my
pictures,
screen was just
but I
blinking.
didn't hear any
I didn't see
You
audio.
didn't hear anything. Okay, so they
Oh, I
did
saw
update. Let's try it again. Let me see. Let's do this one.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't. That's why I said, what happened? Adam was like, I don't know.
can y'all see now?
Praise the
I see
Lord.
nothing. But go ahead, don't worry
Praise the
about
Lord. Let everything you're doing too much. That has
it.
breath.
I don't know. It's my internet.
Praise
No,
the Lord.
I don't hear
Praise the Lord.
audio.
Rashida, you doing
Yeah,
too
all I
much.
see is the buffering.
This is
Yeah,
too
no
much.
audio.
This is too much what you're doing. So slow down. Get on the beat. Do what you're supposed to do. This is praise and worship. No, no, no. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I don't mind. I don't care that it's live. I don't care that it's live. I don't care that it's live.
Act like
No,
we-
no, I
act
don't
like
care
we
that
watched
this is
it.
live. No, no, I don't
This
care
is
that this
great.
is live. I don't care that this is live.
This
No,
is powerful.
no, because I didn't forget.
Powerful.
They didn't get a chance to.
Oh, Shata.
Okay,
Hey,
so you all have
I
seen
felt
this video before. It is the video of them doing a worship segment. Babe, could you send it to them individually? Maybe they can watch it real quick. I don't know what
Yes.
happened. Restream has gone through updates, so I don't know if it kicked off something, but we're gonna check it. Anyway,
That is real.
It's showing through the stream on Facebook. I'm seeing. I see it.
I saw it too.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I saw.
Yeah, we couldn't. I couldn't hear the audio. But here's the question I always had, Coach.
Mhm.
Was that a live recorded segment? Was that in front of the laymen and people?
Yeah,
Yes.
that was in front of their congregation.
My
can y'all explain the video for
Yes.
me? Because I didn't see the video at
Okay,
all.
so you probably have seen it though. It's been out for a while where this worship team was singing Let Everything That Have Breath, and the worship leader was highlighting a particular worship participant and then stopped the worship and told her that she was doing too much, and that broke out in a semi-fight. Do you remember that?
Oh,
You remember it? So it's been out for a while.
Oh,
mhm.
I've never seen
Brian,
that
it's
video.
I just sent it on in the group chat.
Okay, I'll look at it later.
Brianna, what did you think about
Okay,
that?
oh, wow.
Because you're the one that pulled that up.
I thought that was ghetto.
Why?
Because what are y'all doing? First of all, and that's just because of the one piece of the video that I saw, obviously being based off of what it was. I'm just like, I don't understand what's happening here. But honestly, I laughed because I'm just like, if that's something that's happening on stage, basically out loud, but it's something that happens in choirs and praise teams, worship teams, and stuff like that all of the time. People have underlying issues and never actually deal with them somebody messing with somebody, woman or man, or however, they choose to coagulate themselves in their setting.
Coagulate.
Yeah. So
But now, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bree.
no, I was just gonna say I thought it was nonsense. Go ahead.
Yeah, but that particular clip is actually a skit. I believe
It is.
I believe it was a skit from the preacher was trying to, I guess, it was going with the preacher's message, but
Okay.
Which I thought was too much.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so Bree, I think is okay. So now we can speak on the fact that these things do happen in real life.
Mm-hmm.
But do you also feel like, okay, we're doing too much when it comes to presenting a message? Like what?
I absolutely do. I mean, is it Michael Todd that always got something going on before his sermons? And it's like sometimes it's great, other times I'll be like, why? Especially the whole spitting in the hand, putting it on your brother's face because you're trying to bring a depiction of Jesus, healing the blind and all that. Like, why would you do that? That's nasty.
He spit for
Yes,
real?
he had a glob of his own saliva, like,
I get somebody else to
and
do
all this
it.
other
No,
stuff, and
no,
his brother just
no,
sat there, and it was like,
no.
you heard it.
That's
Now,
gonna be a no.
I
That's
saw
gonna be a that
I
would have
saw
been
a
a fight.
Like, that's
comedian.
too much. That's all I'm saying. When is enough
I saw a
for when
comedian.
you're trying to bring a message forth? This one in particular was about unforgiveness or forgiveness or whatever, and I was just like, we probably could have rerouted that.
But what did spit have to do with that?
Oh, that was
okay.
that
No,
was
No,
get
two
somebody
different
else.
stories. I was wondering, number one, when I first saw that video, I was wondering myself, was this a skit?
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering because it is okay. Everybody knows we've seen some wild stuff jump off in the church service, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have never, 47 beautiful years of life on God's earth, I have never seen a praise and worship leader turn around and blast somebody on their squad in front of the whole church at a live service. I've seen choir directors do it. And
I was about to say, oh baby, I know some.
I've seen choir directors do it. I've been around some of the greatest choir directors this side of heaven. So I've seen them do it on public, on stage, but normally they're talking to sections instead of embarrassing like the person outright. Sometimes I think that visual arts needs a when you put a okay, so if we were having a sensitive topic and we put up like a disclaimer, I think that certain spaces of visual arts needs disclaimers because the whole world jumped up and said, see, this is the problem with the church, blah, 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 blah. And nobody knew that it was a sketch.
I agree.
So,
Because we got all riled up as it relates to that. And it was like, whoa. And then I hate the fact that they used women because we would be suggestive that would be what we would do. I wish I would have known that too, because I remember when that first came out, it was like later last year.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty interesting. I guess we need to do it with all of the drama that comes on that is now integrated into our people's artistry in ministry. Those are things that probably people need to be careful of, right? There's a lot of people, speaking of what we're talking about tonight, autism and neurodivergence, there's a lot of people that would get sick to the stomach seeing somebody spit on their hand and put it on somebody's face just because it's a sensory issue. It would be responsive and kind of nasty. Do we need to share all of that like that? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's actually a very, it's a great clip to put on for what we're talking about tonight. Because we're talking about how people see things, how people experience things. Everybody experiences them in such different ways. My third youngest child, she's number 3 in the line of 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
The very first time we saw fireworks go off, she went ballistic.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what is going on here? Loudest sound she had ever heard. But we were walking away from them because we were leaving early. She hears the fireworks, covers her ears, and takes off running because fireworks sound like gunfire. They take on certain things in her brain that at the time I didn't understand. So I was like, and I didn't realize. So my question was, what happened to her? She heard, what's wrong with her? And I was like, baby, I didn't say what's wrong with you. I said, what happened to you? Like, why are you running? But that's the way that she understood it, because she's so used to her friends. She was so used to her friends teasing her about certain ways that she responded. So we all have very real reactions to that clip, and the clip with the spit, Bree. I saw a comedian telling that story, and he said, can y'all imagine if God walked up to you and said, I'm gonna heal your eyes, and then he spit what we called growing up a honker into his
no, for real.
Yeah.
That's real.
And it's like, who wants that type of miracle?
No, leave me blind, Lord.
So, we've heard that talked about and preached in several different ways, but in our current climate, it is interesting to hear how we are highlighting boundaries, how we are respecting people's ability to have their own spaces, safe spaces, brave spaces, all of that. So it paints a whole nother picture around the idea of neurodivergence and autism. So let me hit this space because I know that our guests are going to be coming soon. I want to share this with you all as a form of teaching, right? So can you all see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so our guests are going to join us because they have some real lived experiences as it relates to this, and they're popping on now. But we wanted to bring reference to this particular topic because, first of all, it is Autism Awareness Month. And we have personal experiences in our own homes and lives as it relates to what autism and neurodiversity is. So I want to run through this really quickly, and then we're going to bring our other panelists. We're going to switch some out, some individuals, some women who have lived experiences with children or relationships with individuals that experience or engage, have autism, have a neurodiverse idea or reaction. And so those of you that are watching with us, we want you to chime in. We want you to ask your questions. We're taking the time to do this. My husband and I have a daughter who experiences autism in a really amazing way. And we've learned so much in the last 6 years regarding her experience. On top of that, my professional background as a clinical mental health counselor allows me to add some weight to the educational piece. And so we want to introduce this to you, bring some more awareness to this space, okay? So neurodiversity, it's a concept that refers to the natural variation in human brain functioning and cognition. It acknowledges that people's brains work in different ways. So neurodiversity, period, is often applied to, it highlights conditions like autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and other neurological differences, promoting the idea that these differences should be recognized and respected rather than stigmatized or treated as problems to be fixed. So neurodiversity does not have to necessarily ascribe to autism, but it is a different way of thinking. And oftentimes there are individuals who are right around you that you will argue with, you will feel like they are defiant because they think differently than you do. So keep neurodiversity in mind, because from that space, we engage the word neuroplasticity, which we won't talk about for tonight's conversation, but it is something that you should consider exploring and looking into as well. Neurodiversity emphasizes that people with these conditions may have unique strengths and perspectives, and it advocates for creating inclusive environments that allow people to thrive according to their individual needs and abilities. So difference is something that is introduced in the earth. I'm so grateful for Dr. Rick, because he used to come around when we were in Chester talking about indigo children and crystal children, and this unique experience that children would be having as a result of their gaze of life. And this generation, they look very different. They communicate very differently than we do. And we wonder why. This is why, right? So it encourages society to focus on acceptance and understanding rather than trying to conform everyone to a single neurotypical being normalized, what people or most people or society would consider is normal. Neurotypical is that statement, okay? So hold on to that. Autism spectrum disorder is also known as ASD, is a developmental condition that affects how a person perceives and interacts with the world. It is called a spectrum because it includes a wide range of symptoms and severity levels. People with ASD can have varying degrees of challenges and strengths. Remember that, challenges and strengths, and the way the condition manifests can differ greatly from one to another. ASD can impact social communication and interaction, and they can have interaction challenges. They'll struggle with understanding social cues, some body language, facial expressions, or tone of voice. They have repetitive behaviors and interests. Many individuals with ASD engage in repetitive actions such as hand flapping, rocking, or repeating certain phrases, right? So those are a couple of symptoms. Additional ones: sensory sensitivities, loud noises, taste, touch, the things that they wear on their skin, smell. They could be overwhelmed with loud noises, disco lights, all of that. Fabrics can be uncomfortable. They can have varied abilities, though. They can also have intellectual disabilities or above average intelligence. So some may also demonstrate special skills or abilities in areas like math, music, or art. Now, I will tell you that Kayla has all of those things and has specific hyperfixations and then has specific graces. Okay, so here, the awareness, the earlier you know, the better you can help an individual, a child, or even an adult with this type of experience. So ASD is generally diagnosed in early childhood, but it can be identified later in life. So you know what? We are diagnosing now 21 years and older individuals who have been able to pass and mask in a neurotypical experience. And wow, the power of that. The reason why that's so powerful is because there have been people that have used their brain to reorganize themselves to fit in. So while that's powerful, it can also be painful, right? So think about that as well. Right? So we have a disorder, and this is what I want to highlight, and I'm going to bring our additional guests on because they are waiting anxiously, and I want to make sure that we get them connected to the process. Pilar is on, and Larissa is on with us as well tonight, and they have personal experiences as it relates to this, and we want to engage conversations, 3 areas of conversation, along with myself and Bernicia Jackson, regarding this experience that people have. Before we add them to this particular piece, let me highlight this. Because autism is a disorder can create a disability, right? So the disorder itself, all of it is acceptable. There's nothing wrong with it. But having a disorder does not always create a disability. Sometimes it will make or create deficiencies or challenges with individuals. So for instance, our child, she grows up well. She was on schedule with potty training and all of those types of things. As a matter of fact, she was so independent. She did it when she wanted, and all of those things that we saw that got created. But if you've been around our child, she has social challenges. So she has verbal communication issues. So the disorder for her has created a disability. That distinction is important, especially if you're looking into social services and getting financial assistance for that. Okay, because if you are functional, then they will say that the disorder has not created a disability for you and you can function. That's why we have different levels of ASD. Okay, so depending on what the disorder does in each individual, that's why it's a spectrum. It's important for us to be able to highlight that so that we can provide support to individuals according to their need. Okay, so remember that as well. Last slide. Here we've got different resources for any individual who is looking into autism or who has experienced it. Or who is experiencing it. We have late bloomers, individuals who have grown up all their life and have not been able to determine they know something is challenging or a little bit off with them, but they can't quite describe it. If you're ever interested in getting tested as an adult, find either a clinical psychologist or a neurologist that can run you through a battery of tests. Because there is information and there is testing at the adult stage for individuals if they feel like they have or could be experiencing autism in their life. Okay, so that was the overview of that particular piece. And now we are going to go back to all of the panelists that have joined us. Guys, before you all jump off, or the majority of you jump off, please say hello to Pilar. She is joining us. Pilar, where are you joining us from?
I'm joining you from Wilmington, Delaware.
Oh, yay, yay. So Bernicia, who is going to continue to sit in on this conversation, is also in the Delaware area. So we are grateful for having you. Larissa has joined us, but I don't see her on camera. I don't know if she's going to be able to be on camera tonight. So send me a note, Larissa. Let me know if that is going to work for you. But we want to engage in this. There she is. Look at my beautiful.
I didn't know that you couldn't see me. Okay, you can see me.
I can see you. You
Okay.
all say hello to Larissa. My husband knows her, but this is a dynamic family that lives in Central Florida now.
Yeah.
Originally from Chicago, and we have been connected for a long time. Her husband is a male gospel rap artist, and so you all need to look up Jay Griff is his name. So the ladies are going to stay with me as we have this conversation. Our gentlemen and one of our ladies is going to exit out, and then we're going to start to facilitate this conversation. Those of you that are exiting out, please help us with the social chat ushers. Let's navigate the conversation, and then if you need to type back in, let me know, because I would definitely allow your entry. Okay, so let's do that. We got that, we got that, and there we go. So ladies, thank you for coming, and thank you for being a part. This topic is close to my heart. Larissa, you probably know. Bernicia, you definitely know. Pilar, this is our first experience together, and so I'm really going to be anxious in hearing your different experiences as it relates to that. And I know that for all of you, I sent some of the conversation that we would have, 3 areas: the trials and triumphs of autism. Number 2, creating safe spaces for individuals on the spectrum to function in. And then number 3, advice as to how individuals who relate to autistic people can be more aware of their experience instead of judging them. And so all three of those areas are powerful spaces. Pilar, I want to invite you first to give us some feedback around your experience, and we'll just do a round robin as it relates to that, because every one of you have different experience.
Well, my son, 35 years ago, they didn't even know what autism was. They thought he had a developmental delay, and which was fine. So what I did was I read everything. And what I would tell people is you have to be your child's advocate. Okay, yes. Because back then they were really pushing like institutionalization. okay? Because they said he would never be self-sufficient, he would never have speech, he would never do anything for himself. But because I have a big faith in God, I never believed that. The one thing that I did is that I really pushed for him. I advocated for him. I read everything. And I was very lucky. I can tell you that I was extremely lucky. I met Dr. Pearson, who founded the autism program here in Delaware. I saw him on TV and he came to University of Delaware. But I followed him and I did everything. I read every book that he ever wrote. And I kept journals. Every day I kept a journal. But every time I would take my son to the doctor, they would always say, well, you haven't had a child in a long time. Maybe it's a delay, maybe not. They never really had any concrete answers. But when he came to the University of Delaware, I had all these pamphlets. And I just constantly read and I constantly prayed and I constantly wrote. And the one thing that I always told people is that, listen, you have to advocate for them and you have to acknowledge when there is a problem. So what I did was after going there, I just called the police one day because nobody would believe what my child was doing. I couldn't get physicians to really understand. But what they wanted to do is that they kept trying to medicate him. And I said, how can you medicate if you don't know what's wrong with him? So my sister had a wonderful book called Gifted Hands by Dr. Ben Carson. I took my son to Dr. Ben Carson. I didn't have an appointment. I got on the train. I went to the hospital and I said, listen, you have to help me. I was crying. I was praying.
Is that what you went to John Hopkins? That's where he was at that time, right?
Yes, he was at Johns Hopkins Hospital. And I just walked those floors because I had a belief. I knew that I was supposed to be there. And he actually came out and he saw me and he said it was something in me that stirred him. And he did the actual brain scan for my son for free. So when I met Dr. Pearson, he took all of my books. He said, how did you know to do this? I said, I read everything about you, and this is what you told me to do. And by talking to him, he said, I'm not going to forget you. I'm not going to forget you. A couple months later, he actually came to my house and did the test because when I took him to him, because it's an area, if they're not familiar with, they don't function very well. But the one thing that he told me to do is he said, take a room out of your house, get down on your knees because you have to see what he sees. Make everything black and white because that's what they see in. And that's what I did. And I just worked with him and I went to school with him every day. He put him in Delaware Curative Workshop. That's when he learned. He was 13 months old. At 18 months, he was sitting in front of a computer and it was a screen. It was an animated version of himself. And that's how he learned to speak. But see, they didn't know that he could speak because he wouldn't talk to people. And he would never look you in your eyes. You know, it was very hard to if I sat in front of him, he would not mimic because, you know, he would never really watch me. So I noticed that he was very greedy. So that's how I began to teach him. I said, okay, I know you can do stuff because when I turned my back, if I did blocks, he would imitate or he would mimic it, but he would never do it in front of me. So I started to tape him. So I got to go to school with him at Delaware Curative Workshop because I wanted to see how do you teach him so that I can learn how to teach him. Because see, I never believed what they said. I knew my child could learn. I just knew that he had to learn a different way. And so, yes, and that's the one thing that you always have to keep in mind is that every child is different. That's why I don't really like labels, but sometimes a label is really necessary in order for you to get the services that you really need. Well, once he went through Delaware Curative Workshop, he went to Douglas. It was only 8 people in his class. This is why I say I was very lucky and he had 3 aides, but they let me go to school with him every day. I got on that band with him from 8 to 1. He went 8 to 1. So, okay, then I transitioned him. At first, they wanted to send him to Wallace Wallens, and which is a handicap school. I said, no, my child is not handicapped. He just learns a different way. And so I made them mainstream him. I'm like, no, because if he's around other handicapped children, he'll start to develop the things that he do. So I made them mainstream. I can tell you now that everything that he did, I would videotape him. and I would put the little tape in his book bag. And I would, when he would talk to me, I would secretly tape him so that he wouldn't see it, so that they can see, hey, this kid can really do things. But I noticed a lot of times that the teachers will handicap them, whereas they'll say, oh, well, he had a bad day today, so we didn't make him do anything. But the one thing that I always told them, listen, he's not going to be cute and small forever. He's going to grow up. So I need, if something happens to me, I need my child to be able to be somewhat self-sufficient. Well, I can tell you today that my son graduated from high school, regular high school. He went to college. He graduated from college. He has his own apartment. He has his own car. He even has a son. But in no way was it easy. I can tell you that I cried a lot. I prayed a lot. You have to have a strong support system, but you also have you got to believe in not only your child, but you have to believe in your abilities. I can tell you for myself that I stopped working from when he was 13 months old till he was 8, because I knew that I had to donate all of that time to him. I had to give him that time. And I know that not a lot of people can do that. And I can tell you that I saw my marriage disintegrated, because a lot of time men can't accept the fact that they don't have this perfect little kid. But I can tell you that later on, his father came back into his life. So you have to be a strong advocate and don't be intimidated, because I know some places where I went, the doctor would try to intimidate me, but because again, I had so many people behind me and fighting for me and fighting with me. And that's the most important thing that I would tell people: be an advocate, don't be intimidated. If you know something, speak up. Don't be, don't let them belittle you, because I can tell you that there was a lot of times that I actually had to go to court because they wanted to give my child medication and I would not give it to them. So fight, but just hold on to your strength and make sure you have a good support system. So that's what I would tell you. But I can tell you that I did write a book, My Life with Autism. And if my son was here, he's a little shy, but I can tell you that he's still, you can see some things, because in his pocket, he has a little card. He had a fascination with squares. So to this day, he still carries a square card in his pocket. And every once in a while, he'll touch it every once in a while. But don't give up. Fight, don't give up. Don't let somebody tell you what they can't do. Push them. You got to push them, and do not let them handicap, and don't you handicap your child.
Pilar, take a pause there, because all of that was so powerful, because you have an adult in your house, and it was right, because that process is so long. There will be things that I think a lot of times, and Larissa and Bernicia, you can speak to this, that we can highlight a child's behaviors and forget that they're just a child, period. A child is going to have certain behaviors. We can notice the difference in some things that may be a little bit more aggressive or might be more heightened for them. But a lot of times there are individuals that forget that they are a child, and they have that, first of all, that hormonal shift that comes just with being a child, on top of having to handle the other pieces that come with their difference. And so, Bernicia, or actually Larissa, let me ask you, because you are our guest and we definitely want to honor you all. Yes. Tell us about your experience, because there are some things that I'm already aware of, some things that I'm not. Share that with us as much as you desire.
Yeah. So with my son Caden, I'm actually now getting to a point. He was recently diagnosed with autism. He's 5. But we started our journey with him from the NICU. He was a preemie baby. He was a 24 weeker. He was 1 pound, 6 ounces when he was born. And we spent 7, almost 8 long months in the NICU with him. So a lot of our journey has been medical with him, as far as he has a trach, he has a G tube. And so it's been difficult, and we're still navigating what part of some of the things he deals with. Is it just a simple developmental delay because of his medical needs, or is it all medical for him, or is it, now kind of what they're seeing, which they think is now him being on the spectrum a little bit. And so over the years, I think we suspected things just because when you have a developmental delay, especially what they tell you is that essentially your child will catch up at some point. He will reach the age that he should be at with everything that he does. And we just saw that gap get wider and wider for Caden. But I think there was always this hope in us that maybe it's because of the things medically that he deals with. So he's nonverbal, but we actually don't know if he's actually nonverbal. He just has a trach. And at one point he made noises through through the trach, and now he's at a point where he's not making much noise. But that could be medical. That could just be the fact that his trach is too large and he doesn't have enough strength to push air past the trach to make noises. It was said that he had vocal cord paresis, but that may not always affect you verbally. It doesn't mean that you won't be able to speak. And so I feel like there is a lot of questions surrounding Caden, and it is you could just bow and listen to what the doctors say, or like avocation, like she said, you have to always advocate for your child. Like I feel like I have been advocating and fighting, like I have been Caden's forefront soldier since the day that he was born, from the time he was in the NICU to the different medical procedures. I mean, I used to get there early when they did rounds, and I would sit there with those doctors and nurses, and I would make them talk to me and tell me, okay, what medicine is that? Okay, what does that medicine do? I'm his parent. I have to give you consent to do this. So, in order for me to give you consent, I need you to explain to me what this medicine does. What are the pros and cons? What are some of these things? We gave him this. This isn't working, so we need to try this. Like, there's nothing more powerful than a parent who is at bedside with your child. You know them more than some of these doctors with those degrees and those books. And so we have tried to take in what they say and pair that with who our child really is and how he responds and how he acts. And I'm not sure that he will always stay at the level of autism that they say, because he does have some medical things. He has a lot of sensory issues. Once again, that could be medical. It may not be something in relation to him, maybe something that he can overcome. I like that they see this more as a spectrum now versus it being one thing, because I think people within this realm have a lot of room to grow. It's almost like um it's just amazing to watch them grow. When you are just you're born and you don't have certain ways about yourself. You're just a regular person or whatever. You kind of have certain ways in which you meet milestones and things, but you get to watch these kids just kind of grow, and they grow on their own time, and they meet their own milestones at their own time. And so it's almost like a an adventure, is kind of how I'm starting to see it with watching him from a medical perspective and overcoming different hurdles, as well as this newfound spectrum that they're saying that he's on. So he has a lot of different um sensory issues. Like, he does not eat by mouth. He has a food aversion. But he can. He passed the swallow study. He does drink by mouth, but he just chooses not to. And most of the time they say it's because um, he wasn't given a bottle necessarily. He was intubated, and it took him a while before he can get to that part. So who knows, at some point we're praying that he will desire to eat, because he actually desired to drink one day. One day he just asked to drink some of my juice, and he drank it. And now he just continues to ask for juice. So if that could happen, then one day he's just going to take a piece of our food. He likes to feed us, but he doesn't want to eat. One day maybe he is just going to eat the food himself on his own time, and maybe he won't always need the G tube. Um so a lot of things he doesn't like to touch. He has a certain issues with social cues. He doesn't understand like personal space. So it takes him a while. Like, we have to show him like this is a personal space, personal bubble. We use like ASL with him a lot. and he was able to pick up with that, and he was able to learn that. So um and he's joining me right now. Can you
Yay!
say hi? Can you say hi, Kaden? Say hi.
Hello. Oh my gosh, he's getting so big.
He's so big. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
5 now. He'll be 6
Yeah.
in July. And so he just has reached so many and that's dad.
AJ Griff, yes.
He's reached so many milestones on his own time, and there's still more that we have to cross. We have to cross these hurdles of potty training now at this point. Um and so many other things that we're trying to reach, and now we've entered him into to school this past year. So he's done kindergarten, and that's been a journey, just watching how he interacts with kids, and having a schedule, and not really trusting people right away. He needs to get to know you, and then he shows you himself. So he has his own way with doing things, and that has made me um it's almost made me lay down whatever it is that I have set for myself. I'm a business owner. I own a bookkeeping firm. So is my husband. So we're at a point now where we're rearranging our lives so that one of us can just be primary with him. It's gonna take avocation for a very long time. And if that means I have to be at the forefront of all time, it's to the point where I'm in the accounting field, right? I've had a heart to maybe even enter the nursing field because of all that I've had to learn. I would consider myself a nurse at this point because I take care of him myself. And so I'm even going to maybe enter the nursing field so that not only can I be there for him and advocate him, but we can still make a living for ourselves. And I will get paid now to care for him. And so just rearranging our life so that I'm at the forefront of protecting him and making sure that I'm letting people know this is how you interact with him. This is how you respond to him. So even if they may not know, then I'm very quick to say, he doesn't understand this. You need to do it this way. This is how he receives it. And then I like to show them, see, if we approach it like this is going to be more receptive to him. And so I'm just devoting my life really to making sure that he's protected, he's advocated for, even if that means laying down some of the things that, I may be doing, like owning a business. I may have to set that aside and just to pursue um, that advocacy for him for what he cannot do for himself. And I will willingly and lovingly do that. So it's a journey.
This is amazing because both of you share a same theme of advocacy, time away, that focus. Have you, Pilar, talking about watching your relationships disintegrate. Larissa, you and Johnny being in powerful spaces. It is, and then we share the similarity in our own house of advocating. I'm hearing things that I have thought about and couldn't explain to people and then stopped explaining to people. And I'm like, why do you want to be home so much? Listen, I'm gonna work out of my house. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm gonna do this. But God gave us this house. He sent it the girls. Listen, and that's what I am focused on. So in our house, we cycle around what the need is until we know that they are safe.
Yep.
Right. And so we
Yep.
expect it from that space. So I'm hearing you all, and it feels like water. I'm like, oh my God. Because people will make you think that you're crazy for, okay, I'm going to do it like this. And I know you don't have the experience. I know you may not understand it, but I got to do it like this. I got to do it like this. So that was really powerful. We've got some people on the chat that are asking questions, and so we'll get to that. But Bernicia, I want you to add some content to this and share your experience. And ladies, don't go nowhere because these questions are coming in based off of what you all shared. So I want you all to answer them, right? Yes. Talk to us about your.
Don't you leave. So my son Aiden, we got a Caden, we got an Aiden. My son Aiden is 7. And I'm not from I live in Wilmington, but I moved here in 2013. So I didn't have anybody here. And when I had my son, I was really nervous about sending him to daycare because my daughter never been to daycare before. I was fortunate to come across a daycare where somebody that I knew actually worked there and they were from Chester. So I'm like, okay, good. I got somebody in there. And he spent some time there and she would just talk to me after, you pick them up, they give the teachers give you like their little this was what their day looked like. And she said, Bernice, I just want to tell you something. She said, I'm starting to notice some things with Aiden. And she said, and I can talk to you like this because I know you. She said, I think you might want to consider having Aiden tested because I think he may be on the autism spectrum a little. So I'm a little blind to this and never had this experience. So I'm like, well, what exactly are you saying? She was saying, well, when I talk to him, he doesn't show any eye contact. And it's like certain milestones that he should be hitting. He's hitting them, but he's delayed. He's delayed in that. So without label, she said, I don't. She said it's nothing to be scared of. She said it's going to be help. It's going to help you to be able to help him with if he has a proper diagnosis of what's going on. So I remember talking to Coach. I can't call you Coach. It's so weird. I remember talking to Apostle about it, and and I was like, well, like I don't know what's going on. It was like that whole series of testing that we had to go through, and it was just crazy. So after a whole long year process that they took us through, lo and behold, my son did come back with he was diagnosed with autism right before he started kindergarten. Which I thought was actually a blessing in disguise because I would have hated for him to have started and all of that to be his first year in school and we had just experienced all of this stuff all at one time. It was good because I was able to put some things in place for him, but it has been like it's been different. Like my son, and now thinking back, once I got the diagnosis, my son did not talk. He didn't speak. Wait, I don't think he started forming words until he was about um maybe 3 years old, saying like it was like staggered talking, like or he would say the endings of words, or the endings of sentences, like he was trying though. And soda and I want juice, and also like everything was like every like you could he had the endings of everything. But because of I praise God for it, because of Miss Keisha, my son she because she was there to be able to help him. He was potty trained properly. Like she would work with him individually on like academic stuff before he started kindergarten. He wasn't like way over the top, but she was just like an extra support for me. So when he started kindergarten, I had that in place. But he was in a school that was like they were teaching Greek, like the charter school that he was at, and he was in a class for 45 minutes, where they spoke nothing but the Greek language, and my son was just running amok in there, like. He could care less about the Greek. Like, baby, my son just started speaking English, and y'all trying to teach him Greek. So that's wonderful for children maybe not be struggling with any type of developmental delays or anything of that nature, but it was too overwhelming for him. It wasn't until I put him in the public school system that they really like honed in on what he needed. And that was for 2 years that he was at that school. This is his first year in a public school, but he's excelling well. He's not like all the way where he should be as a 7-year-old, but he's not that far behind. And I think the biggest challenge is that I did not, and I think that's really strong in the African American community. We don't want our kids labeled because I work in the school system, so I deal with this every day. Parents like, oh, they don't want to talk about IEPs or nothing like that. No, or because they think, oh, we trying to get medicine. They want to medicate. They want to medicate our kids. Some kids need it, and some kids don't. So I think that was my biggest fight too. Because I experienced it with my daughter when she was in school. I did not want my daughter labeled. But I feel like sometimes we can hold our kids back based upon our own fears. or like we kind of cripple them because of what our fear is for them to be. And the labeling was like a huge thing for me. My son does struggle with he Aiden is like it's like once he got diagnosed, he just started catching up. I guess in my eyes, because now I was able to identify what he was going through. But he acts like once he started, like even with the delay when he started talking, he went from not being able to talk to not shutting up.
Yeah.
Like my son,
Yes.
like he just started. So once he started getting speech therapy, it was like you couldn't even talk last week. What are you saying?
That's awesome.
So it's like he just like took off. He loves music. He's very heavily into music, and I try to hone in on things that like he just started singing with the choir school of Delaware. And he loves it, like anything musically driven, like my Aiden wants to be a part of. That kind of runs in our family, the dynamic of our household. But it's been a journey, and we're just starting out. We only technically almost 3 years in, because he got diagnosed in like July of 2022. Yeah, 2022. He got diagnosed. But I'm just finding out new stuff about him every day. He's just a gentle giant because he's big for his age, but
I love that, because as you all talk about it, we heard the challenges and the triumphs of, first of all, just thinking differently, and then adding the spectrum to that space. Let me ask you this, because one of the questions that came up, and I'm going to address Justin's question now. I'm going to put it up on the screen. I want to talk from the reference of creating safe spaces. And everybody's experience is varied. The school system in South Florida may look different than the school system in Central Florida or Delaware. And you know what? One of the worst things that happened to me when Kayla got diagnosed, right? She was 3, she's 9, she's going to be 9 now. Man, I was coaching and counseling a whole bunch of teachers, and all the teachers would say, we ain't trained for this. Like out of the clear blue sky. And I'm sitting up here saying, now, God, now I know this is a joke. I know this is a joke. Y'all playing, because now my baby we are now finding out, now we need to do some things. And I'm hearing from teachers, they leave in the field, they wasn't trained for this, they can't handle this, those things that are happening. We had a lot of abuse in our systems down here, and it just created a whole bunch of challenge in my spirit, even so much so, Pilar, that as we developed, we have our ministry organization down here called the Evolution Church, and we deal with spirituality, mentality, and creativity. And one of the things that we want to do is create safe spaces for individuals who are neurodivergent, whether they are on the spectrum or not. And so Justin, who is one of he's a man of God, he's a prophet that has followed me, asked me to do some things, and we're getting ready to get to it in the month of May. His question is profound, because if he's saying here, if you are on this autistic spectrum and prophetic, how do you deal with being unique and different? I still deal with almost being 50 and being on the spectrum, and it is frustrating with my limitation with dealing with life. When you look at that question, what do you think about that statement coming from him and all other individuals who are unique, who are different, who may be autistic or not, or just different, period?
Well, one thing I would tell you is that, probably because it comes from my background, we are all uniquely made. We all have to bend and adapt to fit into what quote unquote society says that we have to. One of the main things is very important, is to force field them, so to speak, right? You don't want to put a force field around them, because again, they're going to grow up and they have to go out into society. That's why your job is so important, is to get them on certain levels where they can adapt, right? That's why, again, it's very important for me was to go out of network, Because what I noticed is that in some of the schools, I actually had to go to the superintendent of the school board to get my son into certain schools because we were not in that district, so to speak, right? But we're pretty lucky here in Delaware because we have something called choice. Right. So you really have to push them. You have to have people in power behind you. So a lot of what I do, I'm a social activist. Right. So I get to meet the governor, the mayors. I get to go and speak in front of the assembly. Right. Because you have to be a strong advocate, but you also have to let them know, listen, everybody's different. Not everybody's the same. You learn differently. I don't expect you to go in and to be a clone. Right. But this is what I expect. I expect you to be able to function. And that's why even at an early age, I potty trained him. But again, I had the school's help in potty training. Everything that they said he couldn't do, I never let them put limits on him. I'm like, no, he can do that because I know he can do that. Right. And that's why, again, it's important to go into the school. And even if they like let you sit off and just watch, let me see how you teach him so that I can teach him the same way. You have to be hands on with not only the school districts, you have to be hands on with the doctors. Again, I took my son to Baltimore. I'm in Wilmington, right? Because I knew that this man could help me. I just knew it. And so when people see how strong you are and how determined you are, and I'm not going anywhere, I refuse to even go anywhere, they really help you. And that's what the teachers want. They want you to get up in there and say, okay, we don't know everything, right? You don't know everything, but together we can do something. So that's what I would tell people. Go into school, get the teachers behind you, get the administration behind you. Sometimes it is a fight, believe it or not. And that's why I always made sure he was in very small school settings. But then, like I said, when he went to high school, it's like, okay, I can't put you there because I know you're not going to be able to function. That school is too big. But let me find somewhere that I know you can function. And even he had that thing where he doesn't like loud noises. He had a thing with noises, lights. And so we had to adapt to that. Now he goes to football games, he goes to concerts because I got him a little hearing aid, right? You can't even see it. And he can actually adjust. And again, you have to work with them with what they have. That's what I would tell you. Work with them with what they have and don't take no for an answer and don't handicap them. You can't handicap them because they're not going to be small and cute forever.
Yeah, it's true. What do you think about and both you and Bernice here, I'm having issues with Larissa jumping back on and off, but she'll come back when she can. The idea of creating spaces, whether church spaces or social spaces, that can be sensitive to individuals who struggle with these areas. For instance, we have a local situation down here. Not a local situation, but I noticed that now, right? When you have a child who is on the spectrum, you probably notice a whole bunch of things, right? And there's many spaces that we cannot take Kayla because of the sensory issues that she has. She has high-pitched noise issues. She has danger deficit. She has that issue. And so what we recognized was that even in our growing ministry, there were spaces that she just could not come into because it was overwhelmingly not loud. Now we have these demonstrations where there's a lot of artistry and on and off lighting, and it sets her off. And what we're also noticing is that a lot of other individuals are having those experiences, but individuals don't, but either organizations, social constructs, they do not consider the impact of what children and or adults experience in these areas as it relates to how they engage in these spaces, because it can be painful. How do we create safe spaces that allow for their presence without?
Well, that's why you have to be an advocate, right? That's why you have to go in front of the General Assembly and say, hey, you have this setup, but you also have to have data. One of the things that I noticed is that the more information that they can see and they can read for themselves, the more likely that they'll go along with whatever it is that you want, right? You have to, and I use a lot of Harvard, I use a lot of John Hopkins, I use a lot of their data, and that's how I was able to mainstream him, because they really didn't want to mainstream him, right? When we go to certain places, like where I, at the assembly, we have smaller rooms where you can go into. The one thing that I had to work off of him, right? Because if you made him do something and he didn't want to do it, he had this thing with him where he would say, eh, 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 eh. I mean, literally, he would do it for hours, right? So I had to channel and say, okay, this isn't a good fit for him. He doesn't want to go out today. And which, again, I had to totally reconstruct my life, so to speak, to help him, right? But I would tell you, if you're in that area where the person is not comfortable, you don't need to be there in the first place. If they can't adapt or if they can't work with you, that's not a good place for you. My assembly, we have quiet rooms. We still get to see like the message and stuff like that, but we're not in the general population, so to speak. We have another room that's a lot smaller. Now he goes door to door, which I was really surprised that he would really do. But because of the brothers that he's around, and because I pushed him and I said, listen, you got to do this. Okay, kid, this is part of what we do. Right? He was able, I could see like a lot of pushback. And the one thing I can tell you about them is that they're very sporadic. Like they'll do things like ODD or something just off the top. And you're like, okay, but you can't ask them why you did it. Okay. You got to work your way up to it. So if your environment is not conducive to your child, then you're not supposed to be in there.
Wow. Slow down, because I think I get a lot of people who struggle with that thing, especially. And I'm so glad, because you talk about an assembly that has calm spaces or quiet spaces, not just for children. It's not just children's church, right? We have designated those spaces for that. There are adults who struggle with sensory challenges. And I think that our lack of awareness, especially in certain spaces of the religious circle, can make it very limiting for individuals to feel like they can be included in those spaces. And so that's the one thing that I know I'm advocating for now, especially having our own experience. And sometimes it takes you having your own experience to really be able to say, oh, I never even really noticed this. I didn't have awareness of this until it came into my own presence. And I'm grateful for it. Kayla's experience has taught me so much about the need to stretch and see people for who they are. I have been very limited. My profession has stretched me so much because we can see a person as they are, and there is just no definitive nature or way that any person will be. And so your information, Pilar, with that is amazing. And I agree. If there is a space that somebody is not comfortable or is not conducive, you do not belong there, not with you, not with your child, because you can't advocate for what you will just tolerate, especially just for the sake of, okay, we got to be in church. There are spaces that are created to be inclusive in that way, so that a child who may be having a spectrum experience can still experience Jesus, but not be overstimulated just because.
And that's why DEI is so important, because it's diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yes.
And so when people say, hey, well, what is DEI? You just explain it. It's like, listen, we live in a multifaceted world, right? But at some point, we do have a connection. We just have to find a connection. So go to your General Assembly and say, listen, this is what we need, and advocate for it. Show them data, because I'm telling you, that's what they really, and again, get to know your mayor, get to know your governor. I talk to them on a constant basis. This is what and even with the police, I'm like, okay, you have these people that you're going to interact with. Why don't you have a trained personnel to go out on them calls?
Right.
We need that. We need it.
That's a whole other issue. For those of us that are Larissa, Bernicia, what I am, and Pilar, you probably have seen it because you have way more experience. What they're doing now in the South Florida areas, they're attempting to do some work around having mental health advocacy, riding along with police, because our officers were not trained to know the difference in a child who has a disorder or disability, and so they're trained to kill, period. Right? So we have a double need of advocacy in those areas in DEI. If we have our African American sons, right, who have challenges, all of you have sons. I have a daughter, and then on top of that, not understanding how the spectrum is exhibited in individuals, or even knowing the signs, we can end up losing our children for something foolish, and that's scary.
Yeah.
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 Well, that's why Delaware, I'll just say this and then I'll let other people talk. In Delaware, this is something that we were really fighting for, right? Because to be a state trooper, you have to have 4 years for a college degree, master's degree. In order to be a county, you have to have a bachelor in criminal justice, right? But to be a city police officer, you can just have a GED. So that, and they only get a week's training of crisis intervention. So the mayor just passed, he wants $218,000 for weaponry, right? And I spoke up and I said, hey, take some of that money that you're using for weapons and get you a domestic violence worker, get you a mental health worker, get you someone who works with autism, right? Why don't we take the money from there and put it here? And he said, hey, show me what you're talking about. So I'll have a meeting with Carney and I'm going to show him the data to say, hey, you need to either raise your requirement, okay, or take some of that money and let's get the people out on these calls. But in Wilmington, you can actually ride along with the police and see what they go through. So again, that's what I would tell y'all to do. Go to your legislators and say, hey, this is what we need. This is why we need it. And we need it now. Don't take no for an answer. April 22nd, we'll be marching in Washington for the same reason, Poor People's Campaign. So just start your own grassroots movement and we can all do something. Don't let them tell you that we can't do something, because we can.
I love this. There's a question that came from one of the panelists that was on that said hello. And I want to highlight this particular piece to see if you all can speak to it. And then we'll get to some final closing remarks there. It says this: as a woman of color and mothers of color, have you found autism to be an added layer of discrimination? I think you all spoke to some of that already. Was it more difficult to fight for you or for them? Or was it easier fighting for your child versus fighting for you? Let me tell you why I love this. I love this question, because there are days as mothers, parents, we will fight, advocate, and that's our job. It's in our heart, it's natural, it's in our DNA. And then there's also a need for care for parents, because it can be a whole lot, right? And so how have you all, ladies, mothers, managed your own self-care in the midst of having to advocate? What have you been doing for yourselves?
Wow.
Like homework, right?
Yeah, that's
I'm gonna head out.
It's real though, right? You don't see it can be very difficult to see a separation or a time for yourself when there's so much of a need in other spaces, right?
Yeah.
I would say that, see, I came along a long time ago. I would say that parents today are so lucky because you have so many autism programs today. When I came through, we had none. Okay.
Wow.
You know, you don't think about yourself. I always said, hey, when my kid gets grown, it'll be my time. But I can tell you that crying, praying, walking the floor all night, praying, having a strong support system. Now I can do things for myself. But then, no, it wasn't about me. It was about my child and the fact that he's going to face certain things anyway, right? Being a child of color. Okay, he's going to face certain things anyway. So my job is to prepare him for it. And that's the best thing that I can do. It wasn't about me. It's still not about me. It really isn't. So I don't know. I mean, other than having a strong faith basis, having wonderful friends who, stepped in. I can tell you when my son was small, I never left him because I was always scared that somebody else probably couldn't handle him the way that I could handle him. Or what if, they couldn't, because I can tell you he was about 4 and him and my sister, they actually had a fist fight. Like they were actually fist fighting because, she did, it's not something that she was ever used to. But I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to answer that question other than the fact that I grew up. My mother was a political activist. My whole family are activists. So it's not about me. It's about making my child self-sufficient to be able to not exactly be a mark. And that's why I think at a young age, we teach them how to interact with the police. We teach them how to interact in society, period, to acknowledge the fact that, hey, you have a bullseye on your back anyway, because you're a person of color. But I don't think about me. I'm sorry. I'm not at that point where it's about me yet. I don't know how to answer that question.
I get you. And listen, the therapist in me says, okay, we got to do some work on making sure that you're taking care of yourself, right? But if you're, I think I'm hearing some laces of how you have allowed yourself to care for yourself, and a lot of that is shared in the urgency or even the success in knowing that your son will be safe, and that's a space, right? Larissa, do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with her 100%. Because even when I think back to when Caden was like a baby, I used to feel like if I was not at his bedside when he was in the NICU, I felt like I couldn't breathe. So it didn't matter if I went out on a date or not. It didn't matter whether my hair was done. It didn't matter. I didn't care. I even didn't eat at times. And even though I know that wasn't good, I was sustained as long as I was with him. So even though that's not healthy, that was just what was needed for me at the time. So I think we go through different like seasons or stages of where we're at. Right now, we're in a stage where we have just a couple of nurses that we can trust. So when we do have them, we'll try to take advantage of that. Like if I know he's in school during the day and I've got some time, maybe I'm going to take that time and I'm going to drop him off at school, and maybe I'm going to try to take a nap, or maybe I will have, time to go get a manicure or something. Or if we have a nurse that can come a little early, or if my mom is in town, or we have an older son as well. Our son is 19. We have an older son, and then we have Caden, who's 5. And so if he's available, we try to say, hey, can you watch your brother for a couple hours? And then maybe we could go to dinner. So we just kind of get in now where we could fit it in, and we work around him, even if that means he goes to sleep one night and we just sit up and watch a movie. Like we just do what we can in a secondary way after making sure he's okay, because it doesn't matter how many trips I try to take, how many dates, day nights, girls, whatever. I'm never gonna be okay if I don't know that he's okay. That trip's not gonna mean anything to me. That going to get my nails done is not gonna mean anything to me if I'm leaving him with someone and I'm not sure they know how Caden operates, or if I'm going out of the country or wherever it is I'm going. I don't even know if I will plan trips. We planned a trip once to go out of town without him, and even that was no trip at all. So we're at a stage right now where if we plan a trip, more than likely we're planning to have him with us, and that's just the stage that we're at. So hopefully we'll get to a point where we have more people around and he's a little bit older, maybe he doesn't have too many medical needs, and then we can explore that. But right now I'm not going to have a good time unless I know he's cared for. So I completely agree with her 100% that in a sense it's not about me, but it becomes about me, and it fuels me and it gives me life if I know he's okay. Then I can do whatever. So
I completely understand that. I think sometimes, and B, you can chime in too, because I think it's difficult to explain it. is difficult. And maybe I need to do a segment with fathers, because I know sometimes my husband, he fusses at me. Brian Morris fusses at me all the time about, you need a break, you need to go away. And when we first had this diagnosis space, right, it was like, uh-uh. I, this baby, when she started, she would not sleep. She just wouldn't sleep. And so we went through that phase. So I was caffeined out. Then she was eloping. She would leave, she would open the door and just walk out. And, oh my gosh. So we had to set all of these kinds of things. And I said, I was still in school. I'm still in school, right? Because we're at this stage. And while she's better, when I tell you, I said, Lord, keep this house so that we can create the safe haven, and we entrust her to other spaces. Yes. But I could not explain what I was feeling to people. They just kept saying, my husband particularly, you need a break. He was right, but I fought him back. I did. I'm like, just let me stay with her. You do what you're going to do. Let me stay with her. So you all share the sentiments of my heart that is hard to explain to people. And Bernice, I don't know if you have that aspect. Sometimes it's like, okay, I don't want nobody to mistreat her just because they think that her outburst is about that behavior. And sometimes there's a discomfort that she can't display. So I don't want you to be angry and then smack her when she's trying to communicate. Though,
Right.
when I tell you the feelings that I have, you all have shared them so well. Fears and great triumphs, loving Jesus and still living in the reality of, oh God, I just want her to be okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to find other people being able to say that. B, come on, you give last thoughts, and then we're gonna release these ladies, because we probably could talk to y'all all night, but it is 8:30 and I know y'all have lives to live. Bernicia, share something there.
Well, first I was going to say to as far as the self care part is concerned, um I I don't. And I don't know at first for the last, honestly, for the last couple of weeks, I don't know why, and I'm like, something I'm really praying about. I've been really thinking about what's going to happen to my son when I'm not here. And that has been like really heavy on me because I'm a single parent. I don't really have I come from a huge intermediate family, but we really don't have many families. So I think that's been weighing on me, like who would take care of my son when I'm not here. Like, of course, my prayer is that he will be self-sufficient. I want to have that testimony that my sister here has on tonight. So I think like just getting wrapped up in that is like can be like a downward spiral, and it's sometimes hard to get out of. So what is self-care? But anyway, so but as far as that is concerned, but to answer Adam's question, I was going to say, because he said that as women of color, mothers of what, as women of color
And mothers of color.
have you of mothers of color,
Yeah.
have you found autism to be added layer of discrimination? I don't think it, I think it's a 50-50. I don't think it's sometimes intentionally discrimination. I think it's a lack of education. For people, it's like on the in the worldly side, like somebody might say, oh, this child, he has behavioral issues, and when it's something, it's a deeper situation. In church, if the child is act or like has a outburst or needs to be taken out of the room, oh, so we might want to start rebuking them, or
Yeah.
a whole bunch of deep stuff when it's not even that. Everything is not it's not a cast out. Now as far now my son was at a school that I was telling you that I feel like it was like he was constantly overstimulated. And I had a conversation. I think I shared this with coach. I was saying that the teacher was telling me, oh, we need you to talk to Aiden about doing X, Y, and Z. Can you please let Aiden know that, you know, he can't be in people's face. Okay, that's okay. My son doesn't take too well to social cues. But it was always a tell Aiden this, tell Aiden this. And so busy trying to get my son to conform to what the classroom norms are.
Yes.
And I said to them during our IEP meeting, I said, y'all are so busy trying to get my son to conform. Have you ever tried to step into his world for a few minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe educate the students that are around him to how Aiden learns and responds to things differently than you do, because his brain doesn't function the way that yours does. Stop trying to get him to become quote unquote normal.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
Yeah. What
Exactly.
is that? You're right. What is that? And I think a lot of times we don't recognize that there is more amongst us in that neurodivergent space than people are really aiming to realize, which is a huge. There's a huge topic. I hear advocacy, advocate for your child and advocate for others, because there's others coming out with them. As you're learning and as you're advocating, there are other individuals that are having this experience. And Pilar just cut our time in half, because we heard so much information that we could use because of her learning on the job experience, right? Which is why we need to be talking to people. My job, I'm getting ready going to the churches. I'm a spiritual leader. I'm an apostle in the Lord's church. Listen, let me have a conversation with you as a leader. Let me help you understand your population. This is why you're having this issue. You don't see it. Let me help you understand it so that you can serve the population that's already in your congregation better, right? Having those conversations hopefully will have people more open. That would be the goal, because right now in this world, I don't know about you ladies, but sometimes the world makes me fearful of what
Yes, absolutely.
God, I do.
Absolutely.
Let me just be honest. It makes me fearful of how these babies will be treated.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't. I'm sorry about that. I was just
No,
saying,
Go
like
ahead.
don't even
like
forget my
even
honesty.
watching.
I'm gonna be honest. That's a true statement. Go ahead, B.
I'm sorry, but like even watching my son's like interaction with other kids, like I listen. I have a statement I live by. I fight kids, and I fight kids and their parents. I will put two ponytails in my hair and square up
No,
with a 7-year-old. What's up?
no.
Because you're not going to mistreat my son.
But see,
Like,
again, that's why you got to go into that neighborhood and you got to say, listen, this is what it is. This is how it's going to be. This is what we need. This is not what we're going to tolerate. But you can't be fighting kids. You know what I mean? But you can put
and
your,
I
you can
work
put
with
your,
kids, so I'm going to be out of a job. So,
but that's the thing, that you have to control their environment too. Like even with my son, I never let him go to other people's houses. I would have the child come to my house because it's more of a controlled atmosphere. Until you feel as
absolutely.
though that they can adapt, you have to control their environment, so to speak. But again, that's why I went and I got a human development degree, because well, how does the brain really work? Right?
Mhm.
And then
Yes.
that's why I got a criminal justice degree, because in order to do something with the system, you have to be within the system to make changes.
Come
And
on.
that's what I
Yeah.
would tell each and every mother here. You got to get out there. You got to make your voice, and you got to let people know, hey, we are here. They're not going anywhere. But you may not want to adapt, but we're going to make you do something different. So come on, ladies, come on out and
Yes,
fight.
ma'am. She
We
said
got to
we're
fight.
gonna make you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we have to. We have to.
Ooh,
Yeah. We're going to be
this
here talking all night. We might need to do a part 2.
maybe. This was so powerful though, when I tell you, I mean, ladies, to our guests, there was one more that was supposed to join us and she could not, but this was life. I've learned so much. Um, from you all tonight, just with the experiences, your professional backgrounds, and your lived experience, which gives us a lot of the information that we need. I want to give each of you just opportunity to have last remarks as it relates to our third point, What would you tell, and you probably have said it before, but keep saying it. What would you tell individuals who are struggling to have their child diagnosed because of the shame that they feel? What would you tell parents who um, have new diagnosis, how to engage the process? Give thoughts around that, and then that'll be where we'll leave off, and we'll talk about part two or part 5,000 at another time.
First of all, I would tell you, read everything you can read.
Mhm.
Read as much information as you can, right? I would tell you I still have the notebooks from when my son was little, right? Where I
Mhm.
would just say, okay, this is what he can do, this is what he can't do, these are his strengths, these are his weaknesses, how can we build on that? I would tell you to go out of your network, because I found that in Delaware, the doctors did the same thing. Okay. And I would tell you, don't be intimidated, and don't let somebody think that you're crazy, because they will honestly, especially as minority mothers, one, they think that, okay, we don't feel the same pain as others, and that we're not as educated as others, and we're not as in tuned as others. I had a lot of that going on. And then I would tell you to find a network, find other mothers who are going through the same thing, because we are out there. We just got to get together. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. And just, if you need to cry, cry. It's okay to cry, but I would tell you to educate yourself and get in tune with the school, because they're going to be your best advocates to teachers.
Pilar, thank you for that. Larissa?
Um, I would say, just especially where I'm at, I think what's good for me to hear is to um, give yourself grace,
Mhm.
and give yourself space, um, to just feel what you need to feel, and to just be where you need to be, and make room for hope. Like, I'm trying to always remind myself to make room for hope, like always be hopeful. I'll never forget coach reminding me, I say coach, but always reminding me that you never know where you're going to see him get to. There's nothing that says that he won't ever get to where he needs to get to. And so try to remain hopeful,
Mhm.
to see that progress in your own child's time when they get there. um, Continue to protect them, fight. We won't be maybe physically fighting unless we need to, but because I promise you I will fight. But your form of fighting is going to look different. I love hearing my sis talk and how she has had the ability and the blessing to fight on a major scale, and your
Mhm.
fighting may look like just fighting within that school system, and the example that you had to have is now paving the way for the
Mhm.
kids to come, because they know, when we encounter Mrs. Griffin, she would not allow
Yeah.
this, and this worked and that worked. So just you standing in the gap for your own child is going to pave a way for other kids that are coming behind your child. So give yourself grace and space, and advocate within whatever your realm is, and even that will make a difference on a bigger scale, even if you can't see it. And just be okay with where you're at, and know that it's gonna get better. It will literally get better, even though it doesn't feel like it. So,
I love that. Thank you, Larissa. Thank you so much. Bernicia?
Just like all of what these ladies have said, you like seriously, you guys have really blessed me tonight.
Mhm.
Um, I just think that we just got to stay in the to stay in the know. And it's every person that is advocating has had an experience,
Yes.
and nobody has blindly just. I mean, there are. Let me take that back. There are some people who never mind. I'm taking it back again. Everybody that's advocating has had an experience, whether
Mhm.
it's first hand, second, or third. They've
Mhm.
had an experience in that particular area. So once we are impacted by it, that's when we start advocating for it.
Mhm.
Um, and I guess just to stay in the know, and continue to educate yourself. You guys have helped me, because there are some things that I did not know, but I'm definitely going to keep going. I have to, because I'm my son's only advocate right now. And when you connect with other people, you build a community. Like you live right here in Wilmington.
Right. When I tell you, the funny thing about this cube, right, this four square, is that you two live in Delaware, and Larissa and I live in Florida.
Yeah.
So we have closeness even in our connection. Now I know I will see the Griffins because I'm coming to Tampa again really soon. I will let you know.
And I believe you said you're from Chester. Did you say you're from
My
Chester?
husband is from Chester, and Bernice is from
And
Chester.
so is my family. My family is from Chester, from the fairgrounds. We're from the fairgrounds.
Small world. See, there's a lot of
Up on the
connections
hill.
right now. Maybe we can build in that advocacy in local areas. So
And let's stay in contact. Take my information, let's stay in contact, ladies.
we
Right,
sure
we can
will.
help
How
each
about-
other.
Yes. How about you ladies share in the private chat, not the public one, what information you want to share, and then we'll just get a copy of that. And once you do that, we will release the two of you, Larissa and Pilar. Thank you so much for just adding so much to this conversation. And I hope that you will intend to join us again. I'll be in touch because I need to find out if we could do this again.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm grateful. You know what? Sometimes you just put the call out to people and you just be like, okay, well, let's see who will say yes or not. And you all said yes without a second thought. And that blessed me because it just meant that, okay, people need to have this conversation. Then people were chiming in. We want more information. And so that's the space. And so even in this four square, we get to check in on the children or on the adults, or check in with Pilar and say, hey, you've been in this space that I'm in. What am I looking forward to? Right? That imagery is everything too. So this is just such a blessing. So make sure that there's information. Oh, let me put mine, right? There's information in the chat because Pilar doesn't have it. I know that we can get together on social media. These are all direct lines of information. Texting, calling. Let's stay connected and let's do some things together that will help spread this word. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Perfect. Thank you, ladies. We're going to release you too. Bernice, you stay on with me. I have this information, and if you miss it, I will save it so that I can get it to you later. Okay. Say goodbye to the audience, you ladies.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Good night, ladies.
B. This was crazy, wasn't it? Oh my gosh, like there is so much value in hearing other people's experiences and not feeling like you can be alone, because sometimes the fight can be in your mind and it just creates anxiety. And then it's like, okay, well, what do I do? So we like to have extended support, right? People that it's better to have closer support. I need some people that's right here, but I know that there's a lot of people in distances, but sometimes I need some people that's right here. Yeah, you know what I mean? I thought which was interesting, the idea of this man of God, and I'll finally talk with you about this just for the few moments, because Prophet Justin is an amazing prophet. I did not know, if he's still listening and watching, that he has an experience with autism. And so that could look really unique in church spaces. Right? Because in one form, as a prophet, we're encouraged or told that we are unique or set apart. But what if it is just, I'm socially isolated just because of how my brain functions? And so that could feel very, very disconnecting.
Yeah.
It can feel very disconnecting. So to you, Justin, as you are listening to this now or later, I want to encourage you to connect with audiences and groups of individuals, even in the religious world, spiritual world, that that becomes safety for you. Because I promise, listen, B, when I tell you, I think that, listen, y'all stone me later, but I'm going to say it now. I think that a lot of our spiritual leaders in the spaces of their mind can be very neurodivergent, period.
Same.
Right? And
Same.
thank you, Justin, you are still
Yes.
here. They won't acknowledge it, they don't recognize it, or they don't have awareness of it. And I have watched, listen, I've watched some leaders who are being moved, who have said that they're being moved by the Spirit of God, but really they are being moved in impulsivity, but don't know the difference. Isn't that
Yes.
scary? I think that that's scary.
Yeah.
But there needs to be,
Yeah.
go ahead, I'm
'Cause
sorry.
no, I'm not saying much. I was just saying that I think that's because unfortunately people are so church that they over
Wow.
spiritualize everything. Everything is not like, I understand, like, you know, we're spiritual beings and all of that good stuff, all that deep talk, but everything is not a rebuke. Like, you can't, some things you can't pray away. That's not to say that God can't
Yes.
take it away. It's
Mhm.
therapy
Yes.
and prayer.
Mhm.
Just like all things come by prayer and
Mhm.
supplication. Yeah, we're gonna do all of that, and we're gonna go
Mhm.
see a therapist. I'm gonna go do all of that, and I'm gonna take
Mhm.
my medicine
Mhm.
and allow the medicine to
Yeah.
work for me. Ask God to help the
Yeah.
medicine to work for me, because there are people who take medicine and it's not
Mhm.
working for them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because we haven't practiced both. Maybe you need to add the prayer in with the taking the medication
But I think
too.
that that's a powerful point too, because neurodivergency brings distinction, it brings difference, right? And different is not wrong. What we have done is
Right.
we've bottlenecked ourselves into believing that one way is the right way. And then when there is opposition, that's why people don't like individuals that they deem to be argumentative. Sometimes it's not argumentative at all. It's just that I see it a different way. But we've never considered the idea of neurodiversity in those conversations and say, well, maybe, first of all, am I open to them having a point? Is their brain trained to
Right.
just think another way? And I am the one that's limited. What am I missing here when I'm not just learning how to effectively be with the person that I'm talking to or the person that I'm with and just learn how to communicate with them? And so what I think about my experience, our experience with Kayla, and you've known it firsthand, right, is that we thought we was teaching her, but oh, baby girl is teaching us. These babies get in
Yeah.
here and say no. They show, listen, when she couldn't say words and she would lead us around with her fingers, she was talking. Communication happens at so many different levels. We were just used to verbal communication, and that was our limitation. I remember when my sister, who's a speech therapist, she says, have you ever thought about teaching her sign language? And I emphatically said, no, I don't want to teach her sign language because that means she won't talk. Until I had to go back and say, why do I have an issue with that? If it helps her communicate, the focus being her, right?
It helps
So
her. Yeah.
I share that story because sometimes we feel responsible for what has happened. We think that it is our fault that this has happened. And it's nobody's fault. They are still fearfully and wonderfully made. So can we appreciate that? Or are we going to dehumanize their experience because we struggle with that? It's just a lot to consider with those spaces. So, Justin, I want to encourage you to just connect. There are more people that are willing to open their spaces to your prophetically intelligent insight and hindsight, because the way that you probably think brings a unique reality to the spirit realm. and it allows us new technology, new information from the realm of the spirit that people cannot necessarily comprehend from their naturalized or normalized facets. So we need your presence, but we don't just need your presence, we need you to feel safe in these environments as well, because I understand that there could be limitations in how you live your daily life, but with you responding to that in this way, you have not allowed it to stop your function. So we need to come and understand you more, what you need, what serves you, how you need to function, when you need breaks. We all need it. We just highlight with individuals who are different. We bring a hyper focus to those individuals, especially when others in their neurotypical normalized idea believe that they don't need that. That difference is distinctive and we need it. We need you, sir. So I hope that that added more information to your question, if it can. And I would love to get you involved in a conversation around this experience. Maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do a part 2 with our brothers who either have the experience or who are parenting experiences with autism and neurodiversity, and bring some more conversation and testimonials from their particular perspective. B, thank you. And let me tell you why I say thank you. I remember the days where this would have been a hard conversation, right? But I am grateful that we are here today.
No, he can't make the sandwich.
Yep.
Okay. So.
Aiden, you make me a sandwich too. Listen, we are getting out of here. This is our special Aiden right here. We are getting out of here. We ran over time intentionally, but B is gonna make me pay for it later. It is 8:56. We getting out of here. Let me run these announcements. You all can stay connected to us. Listen, if you desire to give, Life Forum is an extended branch of the Evolution Church. There are ways that you can give that are up on the screen. We do mental health awareness workshops. We have a spiritual community that we facilitate and foster through direct relationship. And then we also have a creative arts measure. So those are our 3 circles: spirituality, mentality, and creative arts. And we facilitate all of the moves of God through those 3 different dimensions. If you want to help support us from wherever you are, please, we would love to receive your contribution and your gifts. You can give through Cash App. The safer way to do that would be to give through GiveLify, because it is a protected area. The information is on the screen. We are signing off because it's late and we got to get these babies who need to be on a schedule to bed.
Amen.
So have a good night, everyone. Listen, check out the announcements before you go, and we will see you all next week. Bye.
Good night, guys.
Y'all know what that is? It's amazing.
Evolution Church South Florida would like to invite you to worship with us. You can connect via our second Sunday virtual community or meet us in person for our 4th Sunday experience. Both begin at 3 p.m. sharp. Remember, this is the place where we explore, expand, and evolve. See you soon.
Where is that?